Hi, everybody. This is Chuck, and I'd like to welcome you back to the home we've never left. So, today, what I want to do is I want to start with a brief synopsis of the topics that we covered in the second video. So, I'll begin with that by asking a question. And the question is this: have you been practicing? And by that, I'm talking about two things. Have you been practicing with a dialogue with that inner part of who you are and putting forward the desire to have that relationship, actually to be familiar, to become aware in an increasing way with that relationship? Because, of course, as I mentioned last time, from the inner use perspective, that relationship has always been there. It's only from this perspective that you maybe don't remember that relationship. And secondly, are you practicing with the things that we mentioned in regard to dreams and dream time? Do you have a journal? Are you writing down the date for the following day? Are you asking that inner part of yourself to help you recall dreams when you wake up on those days that you don't have to wake up in response to an alarm clock of some type, whether it be your phone or something else? These are the types of things that you want to be practicing with. And you want to be practicing with these things for a number of weeks now. It's not something that you're going to do just a couple of times and then let go of it. Okay. So that's the first thing. Are you practicing? So then we'll go and we'll touch on each of the points that we talked about last time. Again, just really briefly. So we talked about last time something that is going to be, again, foundational to really what you're going to be doing in this journey period. And that is the idea that you are the soul. You're much more than just the body. And as we move forward in that, again, the information we'll be sharing, the techniques that we'll be doing will bring you closer and closer to an actual experiential realization of that. It'll show up in all sorts of ways. And again, something else that's very germane to what we're going to be doing here is the idea that you get what it is that you're focusing on. You get where it is you're putting your attention. Okay, it will be a very important thing to keep in mind. I'll come back again over and over again. We spoke a little bit about as you begin this journey and as you get into it, the kind of relationships that you want to try to bring into your life, the kind of environments that you want to try to find yourself in. And again, desire is key there. A desire to move forward in this journey, to have people in your life that can help you, to find yourself in situations that will be helpful, and in small ways at first and larger ways as you progress. That inner part of you will bring those things into your life. Of course, it will be up to you to choose those things. And depending on where you are in your journey, how difficult things are for you, that may be a little bit difficult to do initially, although it may not. It may be difficult to recognize that that information or that opportunity has just come. So again, it's about practice. It's always going to be about practice. Okay. Um, all right. So one of the other things that we touched on a little bit is information that you have maybe already exposed yourself to, or things that you may be currently doing right now that may serve eventually, or maybe they already have, to limit your growth. Um, so what I mean there, of course, is ideas and concepts that you will become exposed to through various philosophies, various ideas and concepts are out there, metaphysical and spiritual, that perhaps at one time lent to your exploration, if you're in a beginning exploration, but now you're ready to go beyond them. Or maybe they were just never a good idea to start with. And you've wondered why you haven't really gone anyplace. And it may be this that is in your way. And there's, of course, a lot of permutations on how information can be limiting to you. Certainly, I'm not saying that it all is or it all will be. But again, I've done this for a considerable length of time. And I've come to recognize that there is certainly information out there that can do that, can have that kind of effect in what it is that you're doing. Okay, and so one of the other things that we talked about before was how important it is to alter the way that it is that you think and feel about yourself. Certainly, if you hold yourself in low regard, if you think negative things about yourself, these are things that will help you move beyond um, and into a different way of seeing things, and a different way of seeing and feeling about you. And these things, of course, will bring about large dividends for you. They'll help you in this journey of understanding who it is that you are. And of course, then being able to utilize that understanding, that knowledge, that experience in what's happening day to day for you. So that'll be something that's important too. Let's see, what else do we want to do? Oh, one of the things I spoke about in the last video was to offer perhaps one, maybe several techniques to help you in your dream recall. So we'll touch on that a little bit. And lastly, in that regard also, we talked a little bit about books about dreams that you may already have in your possession. Maybe you've read them, maybe you haven't. And of course, I suggested that if you don't, that it may be a good idea not to go out and buy some of them. Individuals who have a deep understanding of dream activity, first of all, are still in today's culture relatively few and far between. So if you're going to get a book by somebody who has an actual deep understanding of that, I'm not saying that the interview certainly can't guide you to that. It may in fact happen. I have read a number of books by various authors. I've had the opportunity to hear about some from other people who have themselves been on this journey for a little bit of time, sometimes quite a bit of time. And certainly some of them have some nice information to share, but there can be some limiting information in them as well, at least from my perspective. Again, it's difficult not to run into that. And so what I'll suggest again is allow the inner part of you to supply you with your own dream symbology, what certain things mean. And you will become familiar little by little with picking up on the hints that show up in your daily life when the inner you is trying to help you to understand those types of things. You'll pick up on it. And certainly we'll discuss those things a little bit too. Okay, so kind of a highlight of the things we went on before. And again, what I mentioned earlier is that what I want to do here is talk in terms of you as your own best resource. So when you think in terms of resources, resources can take a whole variety of different ways that they express themselves. And I might even expand the way that you define resources, or anyway, how I'll suggest you may define resources. So there's all sorts of things that we would like to have in our life. Okay. Certainly, money is one of the things we'd like to have in our life, and we can see money as a resource. Okay, money is the resource to bring other things into our life, right? To bring food into our life, to bring housing into our life, to bring a vehicle into our life, vacations, a whole variety of things into our life. Okay, so money, of course, is a resource. Something else that can be a resource are other people. How can they be resources? Well, you can think of a individual who may be a potential partner as a potential resource to experience love, to experience closeness, right? Things of that nature, companionship. However, whatever types of things you like to have in a relationship. So you can see people as resources. Pets, companion animals, certainly can be resources as well for companionship as an individual to share your love with, a whole variety of things. There's many, many types of resources, many things that we desire to have in our life for the quality that we believe that we will have in our life as a result of those things. So what I want to suggest to you here is that as you develop this relationship with you, what you will eventually find once you get to a place where you can observe the types of things that are happening in your life as a result of undertaking this journey is that the inner you, the deeper you, um, is the actual resource for all the rest of the things that show up in your life. Um, it's the actual resource in a much more literal way than at this point you may even believe. But certainly, uh, where we can start at this moment is to say that the influence that that part of you can have on how you interact with the rest of the world can, in a very strong way, help to bring these things, these other resources into your life and will bring these things into your life. So the inner you, the deep you, you're your own ultimate resource. Establishing that relationship, gaining from the knowledge, the awareness that's had there, and the effects that will happen in what I'll term at this moment physical reality as a result of that growing understanding and awareness and relationship um, will bring into your life uh, the things that make your life nice. One of the things that you'll come to understand as you do that, certainly one of the things that I've become aware of, is it is your state of mind, your emotional state, your ability to hold yourself in a particular emotional state that will then pay large dividends in the things that show up in your life. So, in other words, what I'm saying here is that it's not in the acquisition of money so that you can then buy a house that makes you happy or makes you feel successful, or buy a car that does the same thing that you believe speaks of your success, or is going to allow you to attract a partner, or a job that will do the same thing. None of those things actually are what it's about foundationally. In other words, getting those things is not the way to try to start the process. The way to begin the process is in deepening your understanding of self, deepening the way that you feel about yourself in a very nice and positive way. And in that, what will happen is that your emotional feeling about yourself is going to change. The way that you express yourself more frequently throughout your day is going to change. Those changes will then bring a response from the world around you, I guess I'll say, that will result in the things that align themselves with the fact that you feel a particular way. So think about it a little bit. When you have found yourself in times where you're very challenged and you're angry, you're irritated, whatever, if you go back and remember some of those situations, what you'll probably recognize is that in those periods, it seems like the types of events that happen in your life match that kind of energy. In other words, you're mad, you're angry, you're irritated, you go into the kitchen and you knock a glass off the counter and it breaks on the floor. You go to clean it up and you cut yourself. All right. You bandage yourself, you've thrown the glass away. You go to turn and leave the room and you're in stocking feet and you kick the wall accidentally and stub your toe and now you're in pain. Things of that nature. Okay. Also, however, if you've been observant during times where you're feeling very good about yourself, you're feeling very good about things that support that way of feeling about yourself and that way of feeling about your environment, those types of things come into your life and fill your life with things that are nice to have in your life. So the resource that we're talking about, being you, is about accessing the feeling modes, the emotions, the energy that lies within you at that level, and bringing it forward into this present expression of you more and more frequently throughout the day and throughout the week, so that the activities, the events, the things that happen to you in your life that match that type of feeling state start to become more a part of what your experience is. And I can suggest to you from my experience, as well as from the experience of quite a number of individuals that I'm familiar with that do these types of things, that that is the way that will go. And once you start to become observant about times in your life when you're in a particular mood, if you pay attention to what's going on in the activities and the things that happen when you're in those moods, you will see for yourself that that is the way that it works. So what's key is your feeling state, okay? Because when you feel a particular way, what also happens is you also start to think and imagine things in a particular way also. This is something else that'll be important. It's another subject matter that, again, we'll touch on in greater depth in subsequent videos. Okay, so the feeling state that you have going on within you every day is a very important thing. It naturally, without you trying, taps into the resource that is you. It's kind of just the way that things go. Remember the phrase that I said we would come back to over and over again. You get what it is you're focused upon, right? So if you're focused upon things that make you angry, that irritate you, things of that nature, you're going to get more of that kind of stuff. Again, I'll go back to one of the things I said in the second video. You are the key here, right? Your state of mind, your feeling state, your emotional state are key to the types of experiences that you're going to have. In that, this term that maybe you've heard and are familiar with, maybe you haven't, called mindfulness, is important. And all that is just paying attention to the things that you're thinking and the things that you're feeling throughout the day. Now, initially, that can seem a little bit difficult to do because you're thinking and feeling many, many, many things all day long. You're going to go, wow, I have to pay attention to all that stuff. And at first, it can seem a little bit like a large job, right? But all you have to do is begin. I'm not saying that you need to pay attention to all of it during the day because it's not going to happen. You're going to forget, and then you'll come back to it, and then you'll forget, be mindful, and then you'll come back to it, okay? And why is being mindful, why is paying attention to what you're thinking and feeling important? Because when you are aware of what your feeling and thinking state is, then you're at a place that you can choose to do something different with it, right? If it's happening automatically, then you're caught up in the feeling state, you're caught up in the emotion, you're caught up in what your imagination is doing in association with those things, and you are telling, in essence, the inner you and a part of the inner you that's been termed the ego, what kind of an experience that you want to have, all right? Now you may say that, well, that's ridiculous. I don't want to have that kind of experience. What I'm conveying to you here is that there's a particular way that this stuff works. There's a particular way that your creation happens around you, all right? The inner you has many ways that it expresses itself. You, of course, are one of them. The ego, what's been called the ego in more Eastern terms than Western terms, but there's some Western ideas there that have some worth in mentioning also. The ego is part of the inner you. It has a job to do. Right? Basically, the ego's job is to pay attention to what it is that you believe about yourself and about your environment, and what it is you're thinking and feeling at any particular time, all right? What it is that you believe is true about your environment. It's paying attention to that all the time. This again is why you are key, right? And so then it supplies you with a situation that is in line with what you think life is about in that moment. So again, what you're going to get is more of the same, right? So it's important then that you catch yourself in this line of thought that is not necessarily so helpful for you, or the feelings and emotions that you're expressing that way too. Now, again, by this, what I'm not saying is that any emotions are wrong or any emotions are bad, right? It's just that certain feeling states and certain emotional states are going to have certain types of outcomes for you. Okay. Many of these emotional states and many of these feeling states flow from a particular belief that you are somehow a victim, right? That idea is an idea that as we move forward, I will dispel. I will help you to understand why that has really never been the case, even though it seemed very much like a case. And it really doesn't matter what the situation is. Right? So resources that the inner self has are large and varied. And we've just spoken of a few of these things. So what you want to do is focus on the way that the inner part of you uses the resources that you have, right? So let's say that you have a difficult relationship. Let's say that the individual that you're in a relationship with is just really not a nice individual. They don't treat you well. Or you're in a job that you're really getting no place in. Maybe your boss doesn't treat you well, your coworkers don't treat you well, whatever, right? So a beginning place. You are the key. So what I'm saying here is that someplace within you, you believe that you're not worthy of the kind of treatment that you would like to have by other individuals. Now, you may be a nice person to other individuals, right? That's not what we're talking about here, because you can be a nice person to other people. You can treat other individuals nicely and be confused then as to why you don't get that treatment back. The reason you don't get that treatment back is because in a deep way, you don't believe you're worthy of getting that treatment back. Okay. So you're holding a belief in there that's foundational to what certain parts of that inner you are paying attention to and then supplying to you in your environment. All right. Now, for individuals who've never been exposed to this kind of information, this sounds like, really? How can it actually work like that? But again, um, I've explored this stuff for a long time. I gave you some idea about how I began it. One of the things I didn't mention is my degree before I got into chiropractic was in chemistry. Because of that, one of the interests I had early on was in something that's called quantum physics. So quantum physics is a branch of science that looks at things at a level deeper and smaller, I guess I'll say at this point, than molecules, atoms, and the parts that make up atoms. Okay, really tiny particles. We'll call them particles for now. And the ways that they're influenced to do the things that they do. In other words, to become the environment that you then experience. All right? And these types of ideas, the things that I've just got done talking about, are the types of things that are being explored by some individuals in quantum physics right now. All right, so a branch of science that says that this reality, all the things that you can touch, that you can smell, that you can hear, that you can see, all those things, comes together a particular way at the submolecular level, is influenced to do that by you. Okay, so these individuals have a particular way of looking at it. Then there is the metaphysical and spiritual way to understand the same thing, right? That's the approach that you're going to hear primarily from me. I may bring in a little bit just because sometimes it's kind of nice for individuals to hear a science approach to things too, a little bit. But mostly we're going to talk about the metaphysical, spiritual approach to these types of things. So there's a particular way, as I said earlier, that your experience of the world comes together for you. And so those are the ideas that I've just begun to express to you a little bit. In other words, it's important to be aware of what it is you're thinking and feeling at any particular time. Your thoughts and your feeling states, as you perceive something out in your world, will be generated in line with certain beliefs that you carry and associated with those things that you're perceiving. For instance, I'm walking down the street, and walking down the street towards me is a large Rottweiler, large breed of dog. All right. So I like all animals, dogs included. I've had dogs in my life. I've had lots of friends that have had dogs in their life. I have no fear of dogs. I like dogs a lot. As that dog approaches me and I approach that dog, because of my belief systems, I'm going to have a particular type of feeling state, and I'm going to have a particular type of thought process that's going to go on for me. If, on the other hand, I have been bitten by a dog someplace in my life, or other circumstances have happened that have made me have a feeling towards dogs that is not a friendly feeling towards dogs, as me and that dog approach each other on the street, my feeling state, my emotional state, the thoughts that move through my head, the way that my imagination then moves, and the images and things I start to create in my mind are going to be very different. They're going to fall in alignment with the beliefs that I hold about dogs. This works for everything this way. You carry around beliefs and you utilize beliefs in a way kind of like you utilize the clothes that you have on. You go in your closet, you choose a particular belief, you put it on. You go to your closet, you choose a particular shirt and a pair of pants, you put it on, and that's what you're wearing that day. Okay? But just like you can change the pants and the shirt, the beliefs are there to be changed also. The beliefs will give you a certain type of an experience. Okay? What you have to learn to do is you need to learn to be able to recognize the beliefs that you're using. And maybe, and I'll suggest that you will eventually, be able to see what types of emotional and feeling states and imaginative states flow from the belief that you're utilizing in any particular circumstance. Your job, for instance. If you think you're a dumb person, you're carrying the belief around that you're a dumb person. Those parts of the inner you whose job it is to bring you your experience in physical reality are paying attention to that's a belief that you have, that you're utilizing, you're actively using, right, as a valid way of seeing life, right, that you're unintelligent. So of course your boss is going to treat you like you're unintelligent. Your coworkers, maybe your friends, whatever it might happen to be, they are going to do that to help you to see that that's a belief that you have. Now, even starting with the first video, what I suggested is that you need to become increasingly familiar and comfortable with the concept that you're not the body and the experiences that the body has had. You're the soul. You are something that is unlimited. You're something that has got an immense amount of power in how you create your reality around you. Right now, especially for those of you that are beginners, Those are really just words that I've just said. You have no inkling that there's any truth to any of that. But again, trust me, from this perspective now, 25 years into my journey, I'll tell you that understanding these things, especially in an experiential way, is going to pay big dividends in your life, right? So as we do things to help you become more and more confident in you as soul, and as you open yourself up to the information, the knowledge, the wisdom, all of the things that are part of that inner you, and as they start to fill this part of you, then you will express yourself differently. You will automatically choose different beliefs to filter your feeling and emotional and imaginative states through. And your life is going to be very, very different. Okay. So in that regard, one of the things that I mentioned in the first video, as far as a reason why I liked a video format, were the practices that I could share with you in a video format. And so I'm going to give you two today that will be helpful. Now, what you need to understand about your interaction between you and your inner self is it is very symbolic, almost always. It's very allegorical. All right, so we're going to use symbolism and allegory in many of the practices that we do as a way to convey information that will then bring about results for us. All right. So the first sort of a visualization that I'm going to share with you that I would like you to do, and you can do it daily. You can do it a couple times a day if you want. All right. So all of these things that I'll share with you are usually best done in a place where you can be alone and in a place where it's quiet. Okay, it just helps you to focus on what it is that you're doing. And of course, that's important. Okay. So what I'd like you to do with this first one is to imagine from your forehead, actually someplace beginning in the middle of your brain, but something that would come out to your forehead. Imagine a light, a beam of light, and imagine it going out in front of you into infinity. All right, and we're going to call that your future. All right, a future that begins here and goes out into infinity. All right. Then what I want you to do is from the same place in the middle of the head and going straight out the back of your head, I want you to imagine another beam of light that represents your past, and a past that extends into infinity behind you, we'll say, for now. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine this beam of light. Then what I want you to do is I want you to pretend, to imagine, to envision, whatever word works for you, that you are now in a little smaller state standing right next to this beam of light. And for now, we'll make it white, just a white beam of light. So what I want you to do is I want you to reach in to that beam of light, and I want you to pull out whatever is in there, and as much as you want to pull out right now, of the things that are representative of ideas and concepts, beliefs that are, shall we say, hindering you in having the kind of life that you want to have. Just reach in, grab it. It may have any shape, any form, any color, any smell, any texture, whatever. Some idea will come up for you. Reach in and maybe throw it into a bin that's next to you. And do that as long as you want to. Okay. Then once you've pulled out what you feel like pulling out, then what I would like you to do is I would like you to again imagine or pretend that that infinite expression of the largest concept of soul or God or all that is or whatever it is sending light into your beam of light, and they can be any colors you want it to be. They can be gold, they can be silver, they can be rose colored, pink, bright yellow, whatever you want it to be, giving you support, adding energy to your ability to move beyond the challenges that you have in your life. Okay? And just allow that to happen for a little bit of time. All right? And then thank that inner part of you for helping you with this process. And then that's it. So, again, for individuals who've never done this, it might sound a little bit easy, it might sound a little bit fishy, but again, it's going to have dividends. In the beginning, it's not really going to be important whether you even believe it, even though I said beliefs are important, because again, I also said that the inner you is aware of what you're up to, okay? It knows that you're beginning a process that you're unfamiliar with. If you are unfamiliar with it, it will go, great, okay, you're doing this. Certainly, I am going to help you with the process, okay? So it's important. All right. The second thing is going to be something that is a little, well, it's just as easy as the other, probably easier. And it's meant to work with the way that the mind, as it's represented in the brain, has a tendency to repeat certain thought and feeling patterns or release them. Okay? And it's really this. So I want you to take the middle finger of each hand and the tip of your thumb of each hand, all right? And then just rest your arms in a comfortable place. And then what I want you to do is I want you to touch one and release it, and touch the other and just release it. And just continue to do that, one after the other. Left, right, 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 left, right. Just keep doing that. And you can do it for 30 seconds, you can do it for a minute, you can do it for a minute and a half, and you can do it several times a day. This will tie what goes on with the physical body and the brain into the idea of moving information from the right to the left hemisphere, shall we say, of the brain. The right hemisphere of the brain has a tendency to create patterns, loops, shall we say. The left is a little bit more the side that will allow you to release things. So by doing this, it helps to integrate the two of them and to utilize that ability that they have a little bit more effectively, especially if you're caught in those types of patterns. Okay, so 2 practices, both pretty easy, but again, it's about practice. They may seem a little bit silly, especially if you're unfamiliar with this kind of stuff. At first, I'm going to have to ask you just to trust that the things that I'll share with you are things that I and other individuals have found effective in this movement that we're involved in. So use the practices. You'll find them to have dividends, and it may not even be that long before you start to see that they're progressing thing for you. Okay, so as we tie things up, I'm going to remind you to practice with the interaction you have with the inner you, with the dream journaling. Again, don't get frustrated if you're not picking up much. Even individuals who've gone through times in their life that they've been able to journal and understand dreams in a large degree, if they pull themselves away from that for a little bit, it takes a little while to kickstart that engine again. So don't become frustrated, just practice, just practice. After a while, you'll be able to remember the dreams even on the mornings that you do wake up with an alarm clock. And you don't have to, there's a technique that someone mentioned to me that I kind of like. In your notebook on the right page, just put bullet points of some of the activities that were in your dream. Like say on a yellow bus heading down the highway, or whatever. The next one might be in a pink bathroom, toilet won't flush. Walking down a road and 2 white horses come towards me, whatever it is. Then later in the day when you have some time, you can look at the bullet points, and as you start to remember more about what the bullet points were, you can fill that information in on the opposite page. Okay, so you can utilize that as a technique to help you to remember your dreams. So I think we'll tie up the 3rd video with that today. Again, the 4th one will be a continuation of various concepts that are meant, again, to help you move from a place that you have a hard time believing in yourself, you had a hard time liking yourself, and moving from a place where you really haven't given much thought, maybe no thought, to an inner you, a soul that has an actual existence. Um, you may have experience with certain religious philosophies that make that a little bit uh, scary for you to do, possibly, but I'll just assure you that I'm not coming from that place. There will be no inkling of you being controlled by anything, actually. In fact, it's really all about, again, we'll go back to beliefs that you are even able to be controlled because really, of course, it's all about your freedom of expression, always and forever. Once again, it was great to interact with you guys. I hope you have a really good day, and we will get together on the fourth video. What you'll notice and what my plan is here is that I will release the first three together as I launch this particular YouTube channel initially. And then I'll be adding to it, starting with the fourth video and then, of course, subsequent videos. So again, take care, have a great day, and we'll see you next time around. Thank you.